All right, Electric Motor Division, General Motors Corporation, the F2 and F3 move into Section 7.1. Air system, air compressor. Each power plant with a locomotive is equipped with a Gardner Denver type WXE 3-cylinder air compressor with a rate of 178 cubic feet air per minute at 800 RPM. Driven from the shaft of the main generator through the flexible coupling. The compressor has its own oil pump, pressure lubricating oil system. Lower level, the crankcase can be checked with the type of gauge. Lubricating oil pressure should be 12 to 15 pounds with 800 RPMs, not less than 5 pounds at idle. At hot oil, since each air compressor directly connected with the engine, and the operation at all times the engine is running under the unloaded loader is provided with the heads of both of high and low pressure cylinders covered with the compression action for the actuated air pressure for the underload accomplished by blocking the suction line intake of the valve to the high low pressure valve cylinders when the operating of the underload is cut off the unloaded region. Release of the suction valve with the compressor resumes pumping. The compressor consists of two low pressure cylinders, one high pressure cylinder, and the piston. All three cylinders are driven with a common crankshaft. The two low pressure cylinders are set at an angle vertical to the high pressure cylinder. After the airflow from the low pressure cylinders goes into the cooler with the radiator to be cooled before they entering the high pressure cylinder with the intercooler provided with the pressure gauge. The safety device for the gauge normally reads approximately 32 pounds when the compressor is loaded. The intercooler safety valve is set for 50 pounds of marked deviation. Intercooler pressure with about 32 pounds should be reported to maintenance for the attention. Condensation collects at the sump pump. Bottom head of the compressor intercooler should be drained once each for the carry chain. With the regular maintenance period of the drain valve must be provided to each sump with the purpose of the operating the intercooler safe valve by hand draining intercooler to be concerned with all the functions are properly. Or the air operation under the loader comes with the magnet valve with the actuated control circuit. Each unit with the locomotive with the air pressure is located at each of the unit with the connected with the main reserve with the pressure main reserve for each with 140 pound with the pressure switch. The unit with closed with the energize the compressor with the control switch and control CC wire with the magnet compressor magnet valve open. The compressor gets the air to the unloader. Similarly with the main reserve pressure drops to 130 pound with the pressure switch will open de-energizes the CC wire. General, the compressor for the air pressure through the oil separator, the aftercooler assembly path through the sump reservoir of the number one main reserve under the carburetor, the change over the air pressure number one main reserve of the condensation section. Second sump located inside of the carburetor, the sump that provided with the drain valve of the airflow for the number one main reserve. The pressure passes through the check valve of the number two main reserve until under the cap floor of the A unit for the outlet with the second main reserve of the air pressure through the H-type filter with the air brake system, electrical control air system, compressor air from the operator with the windshield wiper, the horns and bell ringers is taken in line between the two main reserve of the number one reserve side with the check valve A unit C figure 7-1. Electric control air system. Air pressure for the operator with the various electropneumatic contact the reverse for the governor control of the locomotive with each of the unit with the compressor for the purpose of the draw with the discharge line. Number two position reservoir through the air regulator reduce the pressure for the 80 pound with the current air pressure throughout the filter with the control air with the reservoir the reserve over the airflow with the two main distribution panel for the electrical control cabinet, electrical control instrumental panel, the air pressure through the strain located with each for the control panel which collects the dirt moisture remaining in the air. The electrical control cabinet air pressure operates the reverse of the P1, P2, P3, P4 parallel contactors, the S14 and S23 series contactor, motor shunting contactors, cam switch, and contactors, dynamic brake equipped locomotive units only. And the engine control instrumental panel with the air pressure passes through the E-magnet valve running through the electromagnetic government control with the engine where the air is applied with the magnet valves A, B, and C. A second air line passes with the master E-magnet valve goes directly to the D valve with the operating coil through the master E-magnet valve. De-energized, no air can pass the supply through the A, B, C, and valves over the and cut off the D valve does not affect the drain by air system. The air system should be drained periodically to prevent moisture from being carried to the air brake of the electrically controlled air system. The preventing the drain will depend on local conditions. Can determine if they recommend the drain done by the time that each of the crew change until the defendant can be changed. To determine the individual railroad, the elements of the equipment are drained are the air compressor, oil separator, intercooler, to the upper sump reserve 3, the low sump reserve number 2 main reserve under the cab floor, type H filter, electric control air regulator, electric control air reserve, reservoir, strainers, engine control, instrument panel, and electrical control cabinet. Electric control air pressure. The control air pressure is maintained at 80 pounds plus or minus 3 pounds pressure of the regulator in each unit. The control air pressure gauge is mounted on the regulator. If the control air pressure should indicate the main reserve pressure for the regulator valve, reducing a stock of the open valve, open the drain at the bottom. And if it does not remedy condition, the report should be made with the maintenance correction. The main reserve of the air pressure for the electrical air system will not cause a serious difficulty the remainder of the trip. Sanding. The operator with the manually depressing sand bale automatic brake valve. The sand will also automatically emergency brake application made in some case for the Maria road specified in the sand and featured automatic brake valve augmented with a single acting independent sanding valve to be installed in the sand capacity of the 4 cubic feet in each sand box, given the total capacity 16 feet cubic inches. The windshield wiper speed of the wiper, the correct air control with the knee valve, which turn the wiper on and off during do not run the wiper on or the dry window of the dirt when the glass blade will scratch the glass. The wiper should be replaced when the wiper becomes worn or hard. Bell ringer. 12-inch bell located behind the pilot A unit is operated with remote control air type of the bell ringer. The bell operating valve is located with the engine control station. And the air brake system refer to the instruction pamphlet with the Westinghouse air brake system for the instruction operation of the air brake equipment. The air brake pamphlet includes piping diaphragms and sectional drawings. Section 8, Trucks and Miscellaneous Equipment. Alright, trucks and miscellaneous equipment coupler and arrangement. The number one end of each of the A unit with either the type E couplers or coupler links are provided with the A and B units depending on the specification of the railroad. At number 2 in each of the B unit for the type of the E couplers, remove the wheels. Checking pans are provided with the body with the locomotive for the purpose of removing the weight of the locomotive on the truck prior to dropping any one of the one pair of the wheels. Under no circumstances should any pair of the wheels drop the truck without supporting the weight of the locomotive on the front. These jack pads. If these instructions are not closely followed, serious damage must be result with the car body truck for the locomotive. Moving the lower trucks. Figure 8-1 show the various jacking pads, blocking pad for the location as well as lifted. Required stuff the trucks may be removed and sideways. General and drop top if the drop top is not available, the truck is removed. Then from one end to the other end must be raised at least halfway off the center plate pocket, about or 2 inches. Otherwise, the center plate pocket will sprung out of chair and then crack. In case of the overhead crane, the available the jacket that you lifting carriers must be exercised with the jack opposite with the locomotive to raise equal amounts to the. Otherwise, the car body must be sprung out of shape. Hoisting levers may require some working, and the individual locomotive should be carried on particular locomotive for which it is fitted. Blocking should always be provided with the car body with the hold in the raised position for any length of time. 2 jacking pads are provided at each end of the locomotive indicated in the figure 8-1. Jacking should always be done with a jacking pad. Car body and truck locking plates are removed underneath the car body located on each side bearing. In case of the emergency, in case of the wreck, the locomotive may be lifted. The coupler shank provided the new coupler at this end. Proper blocking provided with the top side of the coupler shank with the coupler packet. The electromotive cannot be responsible for possible damage breakup of the lifting of the manner. If this is done by several locations without damage, it should only be done with extreme emergency, while the railroad taking all the responsibility. Truck car body locking plates. All locomotives have sufficient strength to lift the trucks, while the car body, if the trucks are to be lifted, the car body springs should be blocked. This will save approximately 3 inches of the jacking. Blocking also can be placed between each journal box pedestals type, further than reduce the lift. Journal boxes. The Hi-Hat. All journal boxes are similarly internally and variably externally, according to whether the plain boxes they have a speed recorder connection. The speed recorder connection is mounted with the number 1 axle. Journal box of the number 1 truck for the left-hand side of the locomotive. Each journal box is equipped with a stench bomb. This device consists of a cylindrical container holding a liquid which, when heated, gives an extremely pungent and penetrating odor. The container is sealed with a mist-off soldered plug. If any of the reason the temperature inside of the journal box exceeds 220 degrees Fahrenheit, the plug melts and instantly releasing the stench agent to the atmosphere. When the resultant odor is detected, the locomotive of the train crew with the train should be stopped at once if the overheated bearing is located. Examination should be made with determination cover the overheating. Proper precautions taken before operation equipment. Therefore, further the equipment reach of the shop. All parts of the bearing and journal should be thoroughly examined and necessary repairs made with the new stench bomb applied. Section 9, troubleshooting. If the fuel does not show on the flight glass, if the fuel does not run, check all the fuses in the circuit, the 80 and 15 amp of the control fuse of the distribution panel, 2 of the 15 amp of the fuel pump fuse of the distribution panel, 3 of the 10 amp of fuel pump motor fuse of the motor fuse on the diesel distribution panel. B, check the switches in the circuit. The control the night switch of the distribution panel should be closed. Check the pneumatic control switch pull out button to the reset fuel pump switch on the control switch box and cable the fuel, or the fuel pump switch on the engine control instrumental panel should be positioned on the on position. C, check the electrical connector for the fuel pump motor. 2, if the fuel pump motor is running but no fuel is being delivered, check the fuel pump cooling of the shaft, check the fuel supply and emergency cutoff valve, check the air leaks on the suction line due to the broken pipe loose connection. If the engine does not rotate while attempts is made, repeat the customary sequence of operation starting the engine. Make sure that all the controls and switches are in the correct position. Check all the fuses affecting the circuit. Starting circuit, the starting fuse of the 400 amp fuse of the distribution panel, 80 and 30 amp of the control fuse of the distribution panel. Battery may be weak to turn the engine over. They turn the engine room lights note whether that and becoming the dim of the go out with the start button you press. Check to see that both the starting contactors go in the starting position and the start button is pressed. If the engine rotates but does not fire when the start button is pressed, check the cylinder test valve in each of the cylinder. Make sure that they are closed. 2, check the injector leak if the event may be stuck with the shutdown position, held in the position, throttle being latched in stop position. Check to see if the overspeed shaft is latched in run position. If the locomotive does not move when the throttle is open, some of the items listed below would cover the loss of load for the one engine, which would cover the slow of the acceleration. Check the pneumatic control switch to pull out the button to reset. Check the handle of the handbrakes if every unit to see if they are released. To repeat the movement of the air brake valve. Release the air brake shoe. Check see if the generator field switch if the control switch is closed and the fuse goods. Check the electric control air pressure should be 80 pounds. Reverser might be in the wrong position. 7, see if the ground protective relays are not tripped. 8, check all the fuses, 80 and 30 amp control fuse with the distribution panel, 80 amp battery fuse panel with the battery charging switch is located at the generator field shunt battery. The field contactor might be open or it might make poor contact with the starting the contact of the oil slip relay stick for the closed position. The generator over the power plant will not deliver the power. The 11, no AC voltage relay must be operating of the plant. The power plant, but the unit will not deliver the engine cooling fans. The traction motor will not operate. If the engine cooling system fan motor fails to check the pneumatic control switch, check the 15 amp of the pump fuse of the distribution panel, check the 10 amp of fuel pump, the motor fuse of the distribution panel, fuel pump, the contactor may be defective, the temperature control relay may be defective, the thermostatic switch may be defective, the transfer relay may be defective, check the AC contactor, contact the jury, these coils defective, check the 35 amp alternator field fuse, blue light light alarm will sound if it is blown, check the 80 amp the control fuse of the distribution panel. Loss of load on the engine. To detect the loss of load on the engine, locate the load indicator on the governor at the engine from the generator had been changed with the balance. If the up to 30 seconds load indicator should agree with approximately with the indication on the back of the electropneumatic governor control. If the indicator of the governor is low, what the cause may be, the motor across the generator serial parallel while other units of the motors are in parallel. The battery field and shunt contactors are open. This call with the ground relay trip starting the contactor interlock open. Wheel slip relay struck. The camshaft switch interlocking open. Only locomotives equipped with the dynamic brake contact. The isolation switch parallel relay contact open. Parallel contactor interlocking open. Contactor stuck. The 50 ohm resistance series with the shield shunt contactor coil open. 3. The battery field fuse blown. 4. The dirty oil and dirty and improperly seated contact in any place for the power generator field circuit. Then correcting any of these defects is important with the power generator plant being worked in and isolated. No AC voltage relay and become with the de-energized stuck. Alright, your lack of power. If the engine may be due to the poor combustion, insufficient air, with the lack of fuel, poor fuel, the restriction of the exhaust, incorrect timing, the leaky exhaust valves in the electrical system, lack of the power may be caused by the low generator field excitation. Low generator field excitation may be due to the faulty connection in the generator battery field circuit with the field auxiliary generator with the voltage relay, wig battery, and the open generator field field contactor. Lack of the power may also be due to the faulty traction motor generator traction contactor, faulty loaded regulator, pilot valve, and improper seating of the pilot valve linkage. In short, anything preventing the generator from delivering a filling output, preventing the traction motor from delivering the full power, will cut down on locomotive power. If the hot engine alarm sounds, check the engine temperature gauge to determine the engine with causing of the engine alarm. 2. Check the engine offline. 3. Check the cause of the inoperative shutter fans that are running of the low water, defective water, circulating pump with the circulation. 4. If the individual fans will fail to operate, check the temperature overload switch of the AC on the AC contactor reset is necessary. If If the locomotive stops in operation, if the locomotive suddenly becomes inoperable, check with the control fuse 80 and 30 amp of the distribution panel. The wire may be jarred loose and may be burned off. The fuel supply may have been stopped. The power pneumatic control switch may have been opened. The ground relay protective relays may have tripped all units. If the engine fails to stop the engine, lay shaft manual control level the engine fails to stop when the throttle is placed in the shutdown position. Stop button press from the engine control instrumental panel. Check with the lining linkage and operative electromagnetic governor control faulty governor protected D effective D valve. Engine stop when 1 inch in the name of the locomotive for the low oil pressure alarm will operate through the locomotive. Provided isolation step the top engine for the run position. Located the trouble to place the isolation in the start position to stop the alarm bells. Check with the most of the usual cause. Lack of fuel. Check with the fuel per operation fuel supply. Explain with the fuel failure. Section 5. 2. Go over the speed with the check of the position over speed tripper the bullet necessary. 3. Ground protective relay. Examine the ground protective relay to reset with the necessary tripping over the ground relay. Protective relay will not cover the engine. Stop and line with the locomotive throttle. Run 5 or run 6 after the starting engine and the check ground relay with the starting contactors. No AC voltage relay de-energized with throttle 5 and 6 position. If all the engine of the locomotive stop, check the following position. Locomotive throttles to see with the emergency stop position. Fuel pump switch with the control push button switch box. The fuel pump fuse 15 amp. The distribution panel operating unit with the positive pneumatic control switch. The oil pressure alarm, lube oil suction alarm. The alarm may be intermittently steady. Intermittent refer to lube oil suction gauge. Alarm switch suction forward. Determine when the engine can cover the alarm and shut down immediately. When the alarm is steady, check the stopped engine. If this once stopped, produce the engine stopped above when the engine should be over idling by the throttling control. Check the idling. Place the isolation switch in the start position. Check the main bearing pressure for the shutting end of the reading of the below the recommended minimum feature figures. If the pressure is normal, the speed is speeding up lightly. The lay shaft manual control level the underload any reach of the indicator second and third mark idle. Observe the action of the pressure gauge during the speed increase the speed pressure pressure installation switch to the run position, relaxing the firm grip of the lay shaft manual control level is explained under the starting placing the engine with the line with the locomotive under power. All allow the engine to speed up slowly and with watching pressure gauge while the engine speed is observed. Gauge if the irregularity fluctuation reading in any of the case of doubt whether the gauge is actually normal to correct the engine shutting down at once. They show the engine be sped up with the isolation switch move the run position. Check if the ground relay protective device. The tripping of the ground relay has been originally caused with the engine dropping the idle speed with the low oil pressure alarm with the secondary action to do the excessive hot or low viscosity engine with the engine slowdown. When all the engine idles with low oil pressure alarm sign, place the isolation switch in the start position. Add the engine turn with place the isolation switch in the run position for a few seconds with the back into the start, and the engine will cover the alarm bell to ring. And the isolation switch to move the run to check with the main bearing oil pressure. Carefully shut down the engine if the pressure more than the recommended minimum readings. Testing engine oil pressure by spinning the engine slightly into the 2C above, and when cautioning on the locomotive equipped with the dynamic braking, do not attempt to make the check in 3 above the dynamic brake is applied. Exhaust smoke. Smoking exhaust, usually in condition poor combustion of the fuel, may be due to the excessive lubricating oil passing with the combustion chamber. The fuel partially burned because in addition to the engine overload with the cause of the black exhaust. If the fuel is igniting the loss of some show blue, the blue smoke is appeared lightly low upon load due to the low temperature of the combustion chamber, the misfiring and proper the fuel. Incorrect timing, the faulty injector with insufficient air may cover the exhaust smoke. Smoke may also be indicated with the continuous engine overload due to the improper pilot valve adjustment, plug pilot valve with the inoperative load regulator. If the auxiliary generator armature always is shown for the ear, see the auxiliary generator switch, check all the fuses circuit to the effect of 30 amp auxiliary generator field fuse, 150 amp and battery charging fuse. The auxiliary generator operative with the case for replacing the fuse and corrected with the condition should be reported with the maintenance point. If the air pressure does not build up, check with the angle cock of the main reserve drain valve at its proper position, check with the main reserve safety valve in the event that might be stuck on and lightly tap the seat and blow off the filter with a compressed governor. Alright, then it has an electrical diagram, and then another electrical diagram, and another directional diagram, a couple different electrical diagrams. I'm going to later do these electrical diagrams in a sway, so you'll be looking for that. This has completed the book, the Electric Motor Division F2, F3 model, General Locomotives,